It's hard to explain anything to a 17-year-old. Least of all, artists have nothing to fear from AI. At 17, the words, "but we've seen all this before," I mean, they can't mean anything to you. At 17, you don't know that Kurt Vonnegut was heartbroken the first time some kid showed him that he could compose a symphony on a computer. He was pissed. At 17, you haven't even read Slaughterhouse-Five. What 17-year-old can wrap their mind around the idea that over 100 years ago, musicians knew that they'd be out of work thanks to Edison's wax cylinders? Who would hire a symphony if you could have wax tubes perform for you? And what 17-year-old would know that those same musicians would come to depend on those record sales, that they would be outraged, that their music was being broadcast for free, I tell you, over the FM airwaves? Sure, I'm getting a bunch of this wrong, but I think you take my meaning. No 17-year-old wants to hear about how musicians lost their freaking minds over MP3s right before they turned around and fell in love with it. Thank you, iTunes. 99 cents a track, are you kidding me? Then for a hot minute, it was Spotify, up until people started touring all the time, thanks to that amazing tour promotion engine. I'm just here to say all of this has happened before. I ain't here to ask you to pick a side. Hell, there are no sides. There's only a new technology that's making it easy for a lot of fakers to try to make it in the art world. And you are right to be worried about corporate manipulation, about propaganda. Most of all, you should be worried about lazy art. But guess what? Spoiler alert, the good guys win. All the fakers get found out. And it's all plain as day when you know the story of Papyrus, that most gloriously maligned of fonts. We're gonna time travel back to 1982. Interior, living room, day. A wood-paneled Zenith TV hums in the corner. A 7-year-old Brian Brushwood sits cross-legged in a brown shag carpet in his basement in Littleton, Colorado. Child Brian turns to the camera. In 1982, 3 perfect, best-in-class productions were launched. To this day, none has ever surpassed them. Knight Rider is, was, and ever shall be the very best man-on-the-run weekly TV procedural, and I've still not forgiven my parents for making me miss episode 2. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. 1982 was also the year we received the single greatest font that says, "I've never left my hometown, but I'm pretty sure I know what Egypt is like." In 1982, Chris Costello created Papyrus, and in doing so entered a decades-long competition with Vincent Conner for the epic title of the world's most hated font. The funny thing, Papyrus isn't even that bad of a font. In his book Designed for Hackers, designer David Kadavi praised its solid fundamentals, citing its even texture and surprisingly good kerning. But he also rightly called out Papyrus's original sin, its inauthenticity. In one timeline, Papyrus would have been just a quirky one of 200,000 fonts out there, one that you'd never encounter unless maybe you were working on your next best-selling hymnal. But we live in the timeline where Costello sold it for $750, at which point fate took the reins. In 1996, Microsoft included Papyrus in the release of Office 97, and in 2003, it showed up on Mac OS 2. After 20 years of obscurity, Papyrus hadn't so much arrived as quietly snuck onto the main stage. And there, over the next 10 years, Papyrus wormed its way into the public consciousness simply by being the most interesting font that could be summoned, and this is the important part, with an easy button. Cut to B-roll montage, jaunty music, teletype machines, happy workers, kids, adults, executives, home users, all clicking font drop-down menus. Over the next 10 years, millions of users with limited budgets, limited graphic design skills, but unlimited confidence scanned through the fonts. And out of those 50 or so fonts, they found the most interesting one. They all had the same brilliant thought. That is the most interesting font. Look at me. I am a genius who cleverly picked the right font. I am an artist. I didn't need to pay anybody $50 to lay this out. B-roll, business plans get printed. Birthday party flyers are handed out. A big old sign gets mounted on the side of a brick and mortar bank. All of them covered in Papyrus. Kid Brian back on camera. And for a time, it was good. Everyone was a wizard. Everyone was a graphic artist. Everyone was happy with Papyrus. There was only one thing people didn't like about Papyrus, and that was seeing other people use it. It held up a mirror. It revealed the lie of their gift. It peeled back the curtain covering their inauthenticity. It reminded them that other people had an easy button too. Cue Papyrus Watch. The blog was dead simple. See papyrus in the wild? Send it in. Everybody laugh. Because the moment there was a hint that the emperor had no clothes, the backlash was swift and brutal. Ha! Look at this Italian restaurant. Ha! Gratitude with papyrus. No matter what the words were, the sentiment was the same. Ha ha, look at this person. They pressed the easy button. Because it wasn't just typeface and font nerds who were figuring it out. Everybody knew that no font could represent both the high end and the low end of the market. No font that ships with Windows could be a hallmark of status. Everyone at all levels had gotten caught pressing the easy button. Even Hollywood. Cut to 2025, interior of a soundstage. Brian sits alone, surrounded by AI-powered robot cameras, reading from a teleprompter. It takes a few years for the crowd to smell low-effort content. And once they do, they always recoil from it. Because at a core level, all humans want is to connect with other humans. And nobody, and I mean nobody, is made happier when they realize that they were the sucker who fell for low-effort art. We're having a papyrus moment. And the trappings of AI art are pretty easy to suss out. Won't always be that way. But for now, pretty easy to spot it. And right now, we have a lot of people on guard. And for good reason. Because just like it takes bravery to make any kind of art, it takes bravery to love any kind of art. None of us want to be the sucker. So this will be a time of a lot of experimentation. For my generation, this reeks of late 80s sampling culture, where, yeah, some people will just change the lyrics on someone else's song, but other people are mixing things together in ways that nobody saw coming. Think about just a few months ago. The very trappings that made for a high-quality, high-effort email now just reek of ChatGPT. I'll bet a lot of you guys don't even read it if it looks like it was made by a robot. So my suggestion, this is just person to person, artist to artist, is that Papyrus is a fine font, especially if you keep it internal. But when you put something out in the world, pay attention to what kind of papyrus tattoo you're giving yourself. That's a fancy way to say put your heart into everything you do. See, I get to be sentimental because we're entering the gentleman era and I'm 50 years old. Which brings me to the last part. It wouldn't kill you to be kind to other people. There's a big change coming. And a lot of people are going to have missteps. But when you're judging somebody's art, do this for me. Boil it down to one simple question. Is this high effort content or is this low effort content? Because I don't want you to judge me based on the font. I want you to judge me based on the effort.